Welcome to the deep dive. So you, our listener, you've really done the work, haven't you? Sharpened the tools, mastered the discipline, probably burned a lot of midnight oil.
Right.
You've put in the time, the faithful groundwork even. And yet, you hit a wall. Some doors, the ones that really feel like breakthrough, they just won't open no matter how hard you push.
Yeah, that experience running into that sort of invisible ceiling, it's almost universal, I think. The world system, the meritocracy, it prizes effort, sure, but diligent human effort, even really excellent effort, it often just stalls out.
And that is the disruptive idea we're really unpacking today. We're looking at source material built around this theme, when preparation meets favor. And it argues that true sustainable breakthrough doesn't actually come from effort alone.
No, it comes from a specific divine intersection.
Exactly.
The central thesis here is, well, it's pretty powerful. Your skill, your discipline, your human strategy, they can absolutely position you for the next level. They build your capacity, right? But only favor, that kind of invisible advantage, can truly promote you, can accelerate your journey.
So our mission in this deep dive is to get past just defining it. We want to identify the concrete practices that shift you from, striving through sheer human force to operating in alignment, an alignment that actually magnetizes that favor.
Okay, let's unpack this tension, that favor over force. Because, for most of us in professional life or maybe running a business, hustle is basically the law, isn't it?
It really is. We're conditioned to think speed, self-promotion, ambition. Those are the ultimate virtues.
Yeah.
And that's the striving trap. And the thing is, that trap is just exhausting. You're pouring all your energy into things you can control, your output, your hours, your strategy.
For tangible stuff.
Exactly. But the return eventually diminishes. The source material describes it as operating in a kind of closed system. You're capped by your own, limited resources and strength.
Wait a second, though. If preparation builds capacity, why isn't that enough? Are we sort of saying effort doesn't matter? That sounds a bit off. Oh, not at all.
Yeah.
Effort is absolutely foundational. It's necessary, definitely. But it's insufficient on its own.
Okay.
If you look at this through the lens of a different economy, let's call it a divine economy, favor is the missing ingredient. It's like the current that takes you further than your qualifications might suggest. Faster than even your most detailed plans could achieve, and frankly, higher than your merit strictly warrants.
It's the advantage that no resume, no amount of polishing can actually manufacture.
Precisely. We really need to see preparation and favor as a partnership. They work together.
Okay.
Preparation builds the strong, seaworthy vessel, sharpens the skills, readies the structure. But favor, well, favor is that powerful, sometimes unpredictable wind that fills the sails. It provides the acceleration.
So one without the other is incomplete.
Totally. Favor without preparation. That can lead to shipwreck, right? Too much wind, not enough boat.
Yeah.
And preparation without favor.
Yeah.
Well, that just leads to stagnation. You're all dressed up with nowhere to go.
That partnership idea brings us to timing. Because, let's be honest, nobody enjoys that feeling of being fully prepped, totally ready, but completely obscure. The source calls this the hidden curriculum of waiting. If the wind, the favor is coming, why are we just standing still sometimes?
It's a great question. And the insight here is that the delay is rarely punishment. It's actually preparation, but preparation of the inner person.
Ah, okay.
In those seasons of obscurity, when you're doing excellent work, but maybe nobody important is watching, like David out in the pasture or Joseph stuck in that dungeon.
Right.
That's when character gets refined. Motives get purified, faith gets tested. The authors really stress that this formation phase, it's non-negotiable.
Why? What happens if you skip it?
If favor arrives before that formation is complete, the sheer weight of the promotion, the opportunity, it can actually destroy the person. But favor with formation, that multiplies impact.
Okay, that makes sense. So if we accept that this favor isn't just random cosmic good luck, it implies there's some kind of system, right? There must be a mechanism for how this divine favor flows, maybe often using, human pathways.
Absolutely. The idea that favor is just magic is, I think, often a misconception. It frequently manifests through quite established human systems and social dynamics that God seems to orchestrate.
Interesting.
Yeah, and we can actually decompose this mechanism into, let's say, 4 identifiable dynamics.
Okay, lay them out for us. What are these 4 dynamics of how favor flows?
All right, first one, visible competence. Pretty straightforward. Favor isn't usually given to the lazy or the unprepared. Preparation builds objective credibility.
Right.
When an opportunity knocks, you actually have to demonstrate the skill needed to handle it, to steward it well. Favor acts like an accelerant, but the preparation, that's the fuel that has to already be in the tank.
Which means your reputation probably has to speak for you even before you walk into the room.
Exactly. And that leads directly into the second dynamic, quiet reputation. This is capital that's built slowly, really slowly, through small, consistent acts of reliability and integrity.
Okay.
A person who becomes known for responding on time, for honoring confidentiality, for performing reliably, even when no one's watching. They build up what you could call reputational capital. People tend to open doors for the trustworthy, not just the flashy or talented.
It seems like that reputation then inevitably pulls other people in. How does that credibility translate into actual access, into doors opening?
That's the third dynamic, relational access. Breakthrough rarely, if ever, happens in a vacuum.
True.
Favor frequently comes through specific, strategically positioned relationships. Think mentors, gatekeepers, and sponsors. And it's really crucial here to distinguish between a mentor and a sponsor. They play different roles.
That is a key distinction. Walk us through that difference.
Sure. So a mentor is generally someone who gives you advice, wisdom, shares their experience. They speak to you. A sponsor, however, is someone who actively advocates for you when you're not in the room. They use their own accumulated favor, their political capital, to speak for you in those critical decision-making moments. Often, favor looks like a sponsor saying your name at just the right time when an opportunity comes up.
So relationships are what can move that preparation from just being ready to actually getting the chance. Makes sense. What's the final dynamic then?
The fourth one is supernatural timing. This is the convergence factor. It's when breakthrough seems to coincide with this moment where opportunity, a deep sense of internal peace, and external alignment all crash together, like a perfect wave you can't miss.
Wow.
And the profound insight here is actually pretty simple. God's timing is often better than your meticulously planned timeline. Trying to force the timing just leads to burnout and exhaustion.
Yeah, I think we've all felt that.
Right. But waiting until the alignment is confirmed by the inner peace, that often leads to almost effortless movement. Things just click into place.
Okay, this raises the core question then, especially for the proactive leader listening. If we can't force the promotion, if we can't dictate the timing, what can we actively do to position ourselves? How do we shift from that tyranny of anxious striving to maybe the peace of purposeful alignment?
This is exactly where we dig into segment 3, the specific disciplines of positioning. These are the inputs, the practices that cultivate a lifestyle which seems to attract and then sustain favor.
Okay.
And the sources emphasize that this alignment really rests heavily on two main pillars, excellence and integrity.
All right, let's start with excellence. That ties back nicely to the visible competence point. Can you give us some concrete, actionable examples? How do you make your work transferable and measurable?
Yeah, competence has to be, well, undeniable. It's not just about being busy. It's about being truly excellent. And this means a couple of things. First, defining what excellent actually means for your role quality thresholds. Follow procedures, timelines, and then hitting those standards consistently, every time, regardless of who's watching.
Okay, consistent quality.
Second, making your work portable. So after a key project, don't just move on. Document the outcomes. Use metrics if possible. Create a summary report. Maybe build a template others can use.
So it's shareable.
Exactly. This allows you to quickly hand off the framework or the learnings. It demonstrates not just that you can execute, but that you have scalable administrative skill, that you think beyond just your own task.
That documentation kind of becomes your internal resume, proving your faithfulness in a way. What about the integrity piece? How do we practice this unseen structure the source calls reputation hygiene?
Reputation, like we said, it's built in the smallest changes, day in, day out. It's things like honoring confidentiality, completely no gray areas, responding to all communication within a reasonable, defined window, and crucially, how you manage failure.
How so?
When a mistake happens, and they do own it publicly, if appropriate, and fix it quickly. When you show you're more committed to the right outcome than to saving face, you build this deep trust that can bypass years of office politics.
That's powerful. Beyond these external actions, though, the source material seems to focus heavily on internal posture. It stresses humility as the absolute precursor to exaltation. Why is humility so foundational for attracting favor?
Because favor, at its root, is a form of grace. And the principle holds, God resists the proud, but gives grace to the humble. Pride is essentially the belief that you earn the acceleration, that it was all your own doing. And that makes favor unsustainable.
So alignment really starts inside.
It has to. And to counteract that natural drift towards pride, the sources recommend a couple of specific practical things.
Okay, what are those tools? How do we maintain humility in the daily grind?
The first is a daily, maybe 10-minute reflection, sometimes called an examine or just a pause. The purpose is simple. Quickly review the last 24 hours. Where did you feel productive, aligned, what went well? But maybe more importantly, where were you tempted by pride or impatience or maybe entitlement?
Catching it early.
Exactly. This practice helps prevent those small victories from hardening into spiritual arrogance. The second practice is super simple. A daily gratitude log. Just listing 3 specific things you're grateful for each day. It sounds almost trivial, but it consistently orients the heart toward recognizing gifts rather than assuming entitlement.
Okay, so we've touched on competence, character through integrity, and humility. Now, let's talk stewardship, because if favor is acceleration, it feels like it should lead to some kind of multiplication, right?
Well, absolutely.
What are the key practices here for stewardship and relationships?
Favor is often given to those who multiply it, not those who hoard it. And this means being generous, particularly with your relational capital.
How does that look?
We need to implement what the source calls a sponsor-first mindset. This means actively looking for opportunities to identify and sponsor others, people coming up behind you, before you ever feel the need to ask for sponsorship yourself.
Wow, that totally flips the script on traditional networking, doesn't it?
It really does. Instead of asking, who can help me? You're asking, who can I help?
Yeah.
You start building the very ecosystem you want to thrive in.
Right.
And the source even suggests implementing a tangible give-first policy. This could mean allocating a measurable portion, maybe start with 10% of your available time or resources each month, specifically to uplift or invest in others.
We saw this in that vignette you mentioned, the one about the business owner.
Yes, exactly. The owner who was hitting a productivity wall. They made a conscious pivot away from just hoarding profit and authority. Instead, they started allocating profit sharing and really intensely mentoring their managers.
And what happened?
That simple shift, delegating real authority, sharing resources, created such a massive boost in internal morale, trust, and even external reputation that they saw an almost immediate exponential increase in referrals and valuable partnerships. Entrustment, true stewardship, it creates multiplication.
Let's try and solidify these concepts by looking at a couple of master classes from the source material. Maybe start with Joseph. He had basically zero control over his early circumstances.
Yeah, Joseph's life is like the ultimate blueprint for this intersection of integrity and opportunity. He didn't just, survive in Potiphar's house and later in prison. He excelled there. His preparation, his obvious administrative skill, his unwavering integrity even when seriously tempted, his faithfulness in those small, unseen roles, all of that created readiness. Favor didn't actually save him from prison initially. It gave him authority in the prison. And that administrative excellence, which he mastered in the margins, in those obscure places, that's what eventually brought the divine acceleration when the opportunity with Pharaoh came along.
So the lesson there is pretty clear. Master the margins. Your performance in the lesser, low-visibility roles really does determine your access to the larger ones.
Exactly. And then you can contrast that with someone like Esther, who was positioned quite differently high up, right in the palace from early on. Her path required a different kind of preparation.
Right. Esther models preparation while already in position. Favor put her near power, the king, but it was her preparation.
Yeah, her teachability under Mordecai's guidance, her spiritual discipline, like calling the fast, and ultimately her incredible moral courage.
That allowed her to turn that access, that proximity to power, into deliverance for her entire people.
And that's the critical insight, I think. Favor is almost always mission-oriented. It's not really for personal accumulation or just self-glorification. It seems to be given to serve a greater purpose, whether that's serving your community, your company, or God's kingdom purposes. If your preparation aligns with that mission, the acceleration often feels, well, almost inevitable.
That brings us neatly to our final summary, then. We've moved quite a ways from that initial tension of just striving harder, haven't we?
We really have.
We've explored this sacred synergy where human faithfulness or preparation meets divine favor, which acts as the acceleration factor. The goal, really, for you listening, is to transition from that frantic, anxious striving to a place of deep, purposeful alignment. It's like trading the tyranny of force for the peace of dependence, in a way. When preparation meets favor, the door doesn't just creak open.
It swings wide open, ushering you into a whole new level of impact.
And the ultimate measure of success, according to this deep dive, it isn't really about what you accumulate in the end. It's about how faithfully you steward whatever you are given. You might have been measuring your success mostly by speed or outcomes or visibility.
Instead, this material really challenges you, challenges us all, to consider. How will you measure whether favor is truly arriving? Not just by the size of the outcome alone, but perhaps by the increasing quality of your character and the growing generosity of your stewardship. That, maybe, is the real test of a life lived in true alignment.